Well, the left is in an all-out panic that the president of Harvard has announced her resignation this week after she indulged calling for the genocide of Jews on her campus. She said, well, it would depend on the context, whether that was a violation of the code of conduct. And then subsequently it was discovered that she had plagiarized over 50 times throughout her academic career. Could be a lot more than that. Not sure at this point. In her resignation letter, she made no mention of her theft. But among the people she stole from is my next guest, Dr. Carol Swain. She's a senior fellow at the Institute for Faith and Culture, and she joins us on the phone. Dr. Swain, great to have you back with us. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
If I could, I just want to get, we talked a couple weeks ago about this when the news came out that she had stolen from you in the first place. What's your reaction now to her announcement this week?
Well, I can tell you that a letter from my attorney was delivered to Harvard today and by email yesterday, and we asked very specific questions of Harvard, and they have until Monday to respond. And the questions are just about their definition of plagiarism, and five very specific questions are being asked of them to clarify their position on Claudine Gay's actions. And so that's where it stands in that sense. But I can tell you that I was appalled by Harvard's statement and Claudine Gay's resignation letter because she did not take responsibility for any of her actions. By all accounts, she is a serial plagiarizer. The last count I saw was close to 50, if not over 50, incidences of plagiarism. And the very idea that she gets to step down, keep a $900,000 a year salary, and her teaching position when she has not acknowledged any wrongdoing. And part of the problem too is that Harvard has tried to redefine plagiarism and to make excuses, and they too imply that it is the far right, that it's racism motivating the questions, rather than people who value traditional academic standards that would be expected normally of people who write.
Claudine Gay herself has alleged that she's being targeted because of her race. The College Board also at Harvard also suggested this as well in their letter announcing all of this. You have members of the left, a whole bunch of them, who are angry about Claudine Gay being displaced, I guess she's just moving to a different job, still being paid about $1 million, as you point out. But Nicole Hannah-Jones from the New York Times, Ibram X. Kendi, real name Henry Rogers, who's been a big pusher of critical race theory in the United States, and Joy Reid over on MSNBC, they're all saying that this is racism, that Claudine Gay is a victim here. What do you make of that claim?
Well, isn't that what they always say when it's one of them involved? Is there ever a different argument? Is anyone who's black on their side, are they ever guilty of anything? If they're held accountable, isn't it always racism? So it's nothing to make of what they have to say. I'm more concerned about the professors, white and black, who said they didn't have a problem with what she did.
Yes.
And some of them, she had plagiarized their work. They said it was fine with them. And I'm wondering how they're going to look their students in the eye the next time they have a student who doesn't play by the traditional rules. Or maybe there are no standards anymore. Maybe Harvard is signaling to the rest of the world that plagiarism is okay, or duplicative language, whatever they call it. I think that Harvard needs to be held accountable, that Harvard Corporation,
yes,
they need to resign next, and Harvard needs to do a national search for the best available person and try to find someone who will steer Harvard back into the right direction.
So the Harvard board, which is called the corporation, there is run by a woman called Penny Pritzker. She's in charge of the Harvard Corporation, and she was the Secretary of Commerce for Barack Obama. It's been reported, Dr. Carol Swain, that Obama was pressuring her to keep
Yes.
Claudine Gay in place. Why would Obama do that? To what benefit is it to Harvard, to black people, that Claudine Gay stay in place after having stolen the academic work of black academics like yourself?
Well, I mean, it wasn't just black academics. She stole from everyone. She had pretty good taste as far as the people she chose to
It's very
borrow
diverse.
from or steal. Yeah, and so, but she is a part of the elite. It's my understanding that her family is one of the wealthiest families in Haiti. Maybe they know where I need to be careful, but we don't know where the Clinton money went. But she comes from a very elite background. She attended Phillips Exeter Academy for her boarding school education before going to Stanford, and she spent a brief amount of time at Princeton, and she got her doctorate from Harvard. So she's had a world-class education, and so she's part of the wealthy, affluent people. She's had a world-class education, and they protect one another. And so it's not about black people or true diversity. They have a different set of rules for themselves.
Yes.
They chose her a long time ago, and she earned tenure on a record that would not normally get someone tenure in the Ivy League, but she earned tenure on a weak record. Then she moved to Harvard. They fast-tracked her, and she becomes the president, but she is just an empty suit.
During her tenure and during the tenure of people like her ideologically, Harvard has become a very illiberal institution. In fact, in 2023, there was a survey of the students on campus, and they found that 30% of the students said that using violence to stop a speech on campus is, at the very least, rarely acceptable. In other words, in some circumstances, violence to stop speech is totally fine. It says 30% of the students on campus, and Harvard earned one of the lowest ratings for free speech in the entire country, according to FIRE, the organization that assesses these things. Do you think that could change, or is this still headed in the wrong direction?
It needs to change. In fact, even before the Claudine story broke and before she testified before Congress, I had been contacted by a Harvard student who was trying to arrange a debate on campus, and his goal was to set up a debate series so you could bring speakers in to debate issues. And so he was trying to push back in his own way. And I've given interviews to several student newspapers other than the Harvard Crimson. The Harvard Crimson is like an extension of the corporation. They're part of the firm. And so they will put out whatever they think the organization wants to hear. But the other student newspapers, the reporters seem to be very interested in restoring the reputation that Harvard once had. And I say once had because I think that there will be lasting damage to Harvard from how they have mishandled this Claudine Gay situation. Claudine Gay should have been put on administrative leave and fired when it became clear that she had plagiarized. And she was not held by the same standard that would have normally applied to other black people without her background, as well as whites. Anyone else would have been held to a different standard. They would never have dug in under normal circumstances and defended someone with a record like that.
So you don't believe that she should still have a $900,000 a year job at Harvard right now?
I don't believe she should be on the faculty of Harvard based on the evidence. And I'm not sure she's Dr. Gay because there was evidence of plagiarism in her dissertation. And to get a doctorate, you have to defend a dissertation that has original ideas in it, and it can't have plagiarism in it. But they have redefined plagiarism, and she's made excuses for herself, even while saying she's committed to excellence. If she was committed to excellence and she's always put high-quality scholarship first, as she contends, then she would not be in this situation. I am deeply troubled that she has not even had the grace to step down and take the high road. She could have apologized. She should have stepped down and not allowed it to continue the length that it has. But she will go back to the classroom with this narrative that it's all about white racism. It's not about anything she did.
Would you like an invitation to Harvard's campus to speak to the students?
If they send me an invitation to participate in a debate or to speak there, I would consider. I was considering it before this happened. We were just trying to find a debate partner because on the left they don't want to debate, and so that was the holdup. They were trying to find someone who would actually debate me on diversity issues. Now it'll probably be harder.
Yeah. I have seen some on the left saying in the last 24 hours that it has to be a black woman to replace Claudine Gay. Is that in any way?
And I say why? Like why? Why? I'd like to see them explain why it has to be a black woman. And I know what the answer is, that they see this as being about reparations. That this is the position is somehow owed to a black person. It's not owed to anyone. Harvard should stop the DEI nonsense, as should other institutions, including the federal government. And we know that with Biden, who has touted his most diverse administration ever, it's the most incompetent administration in my lifetime. So I think they need to abandon DEI and go back to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, outreach, and go back to compliance, not to this social engineering.
I don't think it's just me. I do think that this moment is could be productive for our country in the sense that we could right the ship a bit, especially at these big institutions. And I remember when I talked to you 2 weeks ago about this, you said you were going to train your fire here on Claudine Gay because she deserved it for what she did to you and what she's doing at Harvard. And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did because I do think that there is something good ahead if Americans who want to see excellence rewarded and succeed, continue to get some gain out of this.
Mm-hmm. Let me clarify a little bit. I care about the American higher education, and I think Harvard University itself is damaging higher education, and Claudine Gay is just a casualty of a system that promoted and pushed someone that was not qualified a long time ago. And so she, could have been a person that took the high road and, confessed her transgressions and apologized and asked for a second opportunity. She didn't do any of that. But you can't do a do-over. And the very fact that Harvard is trying to allow her to go back retroactively and change things from 20 years ago, it is ludicrous. And I hope that enough people see it's ludicrous that they don't let Harvard get away with it.
Right. My only point is that I hope that this has longer legs, that there are all sorts of changes made to these important institutions to make them excellent again, rather than mediocre.
But Harvard doesn't seem to want to make itself excellent again because they have, unless they fire that board, the Harvard Corporation, and put in a diverse new board of fellows, then they might bring about some change. But if they keep with the same old people, they will search for someone very similar to Claudine Gay. There's someone else to fit a DEI box. They won't be searching for the most qualified person. So at Harvard, it will not be turned around, but Harvard may become like Bud Light, and other schools will not want to emulate them. And so Harvard's becoming like Bud Light may lead other schools to do the right thing.
How about it? It really is. Well, keep giving them hell. Dr. Carol Swain, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today. God bless you.